Hello again, friends. One of the most talked about topics in the market right now is the question, has the Bitcoin bottom really arrived? That's the question. Because after the recent drops, everyone is wondering, okay, has the turnaround started from here? And in a new analysis released today, a particularly critical level is being highlighted, the $88,880 level. In other words, according to the analyst, it's not enough for Bitcoin to simply rise for us to say that it has truly bottomed out. It needs to break above the 88,800 level and maintain its position there. He emphasizes that it's not enough for the price to just wick above and then fall back, but that it really needs to hold at that level. Now, here's the thing, friends. On-chain data has been examined and the average costs of investor groups have been analyzed. In other words, they're looking at which activities people bought Bitcoin from. Currently, especially for investors who have bought in recent months, the cost zone is around $88,000. That's why, when Bitcoin reaches that level, many people who want to break even on their losses might sell. So the 88,000 zone actually acts like a massive resistance area. The analysis says that if Bitcoin breaks this level and stays above it, the pressure in the market could decrease significantly because investors who were at a loss will be back in profit. This could reduce selling pressure and pave the way for a new rally. But if the opposite happens, in other words, if Bitcoin gets rejected again from the 85 to 88,000 band, then the fear that the real bottom hasn't come yet may persist in the market. Another noteworthy detail is this. Analysts say that there is also significant resistance at the $93,000 and $111,000 zones, because there are also clusters of high-cost investors in those areas. So there isn't just a single resistance ahead of us, there are layered selling zones. But still, the optimistic side in the market is also growing, because some data shows that Bitcoin is giving recovery signals for the first time in a long while. Especially the recovery of short-term investor costs is seen as psychologically important in the market. In short, friends, right now the most critical level for Bitcoin is clearly the $88,000 zone. If Bitcoin breaks through this level strongly, claims that the bottom has arrived in the market could become much stronger, but if it gets rejected, volatility may continue. That's why I can say that in the coming days, it's necessary to follow the movements between 85 and 89,000 very carefully. Yes, friends, now let's move on to my technical analysis. Now, from a technical perspective, the $80,000 level is a very important psychological support because when Bitcoin drops below this zone, fear in the market increases significantly. But the fact that it's still trying to hold above this level right now is a positive detail for the bulls. There's something in particular that needs to be paid attention to. If Bitcoin regains strength and reclaims the 82 to 83,000 range, we could see a short-term relief in the market. Because right now, many traders are expecting upward momentum again. But the main target is the $88,000 region. Because most analysts want to see sustained movement above 88,000 to say that Bitcoin has truly bottomed out. So the current move is more of a recovery attempt. It hasn't fully inspired confidence yet. Another important issue is the volume side. There's still a cautious atmosphere in the market right now. In other words, people aren't rushing to buy aggressively. That's why Bitcoin needs more volume and confidence to be able to start a strong rally. But on the positive side, we can say this. Bitcoin is really trying to hold on to the $80,000 range. Bitcoin has generally made strong comebacks during periods when fear was at its highest. If the 80,000 level is lost, then a rapid selling pressure to the downside could occur. That's why the price movement over the next few days is really very important. Right now, friends, Bitcoin is basically at a decision point. It could move upwards or it could move downwards. It looks like the uncertainty in the market will continue for a while longer. Thank you for watching my video. Take care of yourselves. See you soon.